that can probably watch. The good thing about it is a lot of times I did work when the kids was in school, but it was like I worked 12 hours when they were younger. So I had to trust that they would go home, and then I was calling you home, make sure, you know. So a lot of times you don't have that village, and a lot of times you don't know that God is on your side. Sometimes you don't know, let me stop, because he do say, is there not a God that you can come to? I didn't know that. And even though, like I say, I knew my grandmother went to church and for that, I didn't know that I can go to God myself. I did not. So I struggled even more. I cried. And then my oldest son always had behavior issues. So on top of that, I'm getting called at school. So I felt alone. Even though there was another person that helped me bring these children to the world, I felt alone. And a lot of things build up on things, because sometimes when you want to get from under the struggle, get from under being pressed, we as women will tend to latch on to something we're not supposed to be latched on to. So that's another struggle. That's another hustle, because if he's not who you're supposed to be with, you got something else to decide. So yes, financially, I struggle. I struggled to barely make the bills. I struggle, okay, Peter, I got to pay Paul over here, so you will get yours next month. So you got to call, and you got to, oh, you know, hey, let me get a payment plan. And you know what I'm saying, you got to, you know, make sure. And the thing about it is we hustle to pay the bills. Just the essentials. Roof, water, food. That does not count what them kids need for school. That does not count they need clothes and shoes. So you sit in there and you hustle, and when you hustle, you work in 2 jobs. When you hustle and you sitting there pulling out your hair, weave, whatever, eyebrow, whatever, like, Lord, how am I going to do this? And that's rhetoric, because like I said, I didn't know to go to him. So some people, so we can say, oh, pray, pray, pray. Some people don't know that. And when you're struggling, that's the last thing you're doing is going to God. You trying to call the aid office. You're trying to call Section 8. You're trying to call, you know what I'm saying, who can help me, the loan companies. So you adding more stress on top of stress, because then if you do go get a loan, how am I going to pay that back? You know? So the hustle is the struggle with the bills. I know one time, this was so long ago, but I used to say, Lord, I'm not asking for a mansion. I need everyday essentials. I need to keep a roof over my head. My kids need to eat. I don't care if they ate hot dogs every day, they ate. I don't care if, you know what I'm saying, my daughter, I think, says she used to always, you know, chicken. I don't think she want to touch a chicken now. Salisbury steaks, but they ate. I had to, you know what I'm saying, sometimes car note was late, but I was going to keep a roof on my kid's head. That's one thing I knew I was going to do. If it was going to be a little late, hey, let me look, hey. And I thank God, though, that I had some landlords that was okay. They worked with me. So that struggle, it is a struggle. And then, like I say, because you don't know God, you building and building on top of the struggles. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, you're paying bills and you work 2 jobs, and then when you working, you don't know what's going on at the home, because you got to work. So you're stressing, which God does not want us to stress. That's a whole nother layer of the onion to be peeled.
Sister Dana, what do you have to say about that?
Well, the meal my frequent meal to cook for my kids was meatloaf. It was easy. It was easy. Yes. Coming home, working full time, get off work, you know, have to cook, get that meatloaf out, whip it up, whip some potatoes up with some corn. Come on, y'all. Mm-hmm. Yes, but everything that the ladies were saying, you know, I experienced the same thing. You know, when I moved here, back to Champaign, back in 1999, My youngest son was a baby then. And when I came back here, my dad, he found me an apartment in Urbana. And he was there for me. He hunted the perfect place for me. And I moved me and my kids in. And at that time, you know, I had to find a job because I was relocating from one place, coming to another. But, you know, the Lord was with me the whole time. I depended on him to lead and guide me. Always, you know, struggling like that, he was always there. He would always make a way.
Yes.
For, you know, anything I was dealing with, he would make a way. So, you know, I worked one job really, you know, the whole time my kids, you know, when they were young, up until now, they're all grown now. And I thank God for that because, yes, none of them are, you know, in jail. None of them done any of that. God graced me to be able to raise the kids in God-fearing way because they all believe in the Lord. They all love the Lord. And they always revert back to saying, Mama said this, Mama said that. But I always wanted them to always remember, you know, I didn't make all the best decisions because you don't, because you are the manager of your home. You're doing everything. You have to, you know, figure out how to pay the bills. You have to figure out making sure, you know, we have groceries. We have to make sure that they're in school. Childcare was a big thing. I remember, you know, yeah, the after-school care, you know, was so expensive, but you had to hustle and really take time out and to contact